This is episode 20 of Post Production Podcast. Hello and welcome, all you amazing people out there, to the Post Production Podcast. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the latest in movie and TV. I'm your host, Mr. Drew, and with me here, of course, is my co-host, Adam.
Well, hello there, Drew.
Hello, Adam.
What's up?
Not too much. How are you today?
Oh, I'm swell today.
Swell.
Oh, I'm swell.
Swell.
Yes.
We like swell. Swell is good.
Swell is good. I'm here to talk about Annihilation.
I am also here to also talk
Okay, good.
about Annihilation.
I was about to ask you why you're here. So.
I'm also here.
Good. Are you sure?
I am absolutely sure. All right, so Annihilation came out this weekend. With a great cast: Natalie Portman, who are there? Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gina Rodriguez, Tessa Thompson. Fantastic cast. Oscar Isaac is in it.
Yep, it's the second. Well, I don't know if it's the second, but it's the follow-up to Alex Garland's 2015 movie, Ex Machina, which he wrote and directed, which we were both huge fans of that movie.
That is one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite movie of that year.
Yeah.
So original, so good. Oscar Isaac is in that one as well. But, after seeing that, I was so interested in seeing what this guy would do next. And to see that, the trailers for this one and seeing that it's the same director, I was super hyped for this movie. So, Annihilation, it's here. We've seen it. And what are your general thoughts on it?
I was looking forward to a really psychological sci-fi thriller going into this because we see some pieces in the trailers that looks like it's got some horror elements, it's got some kind of weird sci-fi psychological elements, and it didn't disappoint in that regard. I really loved the way the movie is set up. The visuals in this movie are fantastic. The soundtrack is just jumping between these different, themes, and it just really brings you into the scenes. Especially at the end. I don't even know what it's just. This techno vibration bass,
very Blade Runnery.
Yeah, very Blade Runnery.
Very just
runnery.
That's
a word.
Yeah,
it is a word
that's
now.
That's a word.
I thought the cast was fantastic. I really liked the movie.
Okay.
For me, I think that there were some missed opportunities for some of the cast and some of the scenes, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
All right, cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I walked out of there very impressed and very happy with what I saw. Again, I was very excited to see this movie. All the trailers look amazing. And on all fronts, visually, acting wise, music and soundtrack, and of course, story, like everything just delivered for me. And so, in all of those regards, it kind of aced that for me. I don't know if I have a lot of gripes about it. I think I didn't know what I expected when I walked in, and so I wasn't disappointed at all. I think, with that thriller kind of sci-fi that you were talking about, it definitely delivered on that front. But there's so much to talk about, with that, there's so much to talk about in spoilers that I don't even know where to begin, when not discussing any spoilers.
Right.
So I think we should just jump into it. But for anyone who has not seen this, if you're a sci-fi fan, if you're kind of a thriller fan, I think this is worth a watch. I think it definitely is, and it's something different that people.
It is different. It is a completely different type of movie
and that's what I
than
like.
people are used to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's not for everybody.
It's definitely not for everybody.
It's definitely,
you have to be a sci-fi
journey
fan.
If you liked Blade Runner, you'll like this type of movie.
Yeah,
I think.
And I feel like if you liked Ex Machina, I think you would appreciate this movie as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's right up there in that same kind of category of that kind of intelligent, kind of suspenseful, thrilling, science fiction drama. Like that's all. It's all there. All of those things are there.
Yeah, it definitely gives you something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few things to think about.
A few things to think about. And that's what I love about this movie. It's definitely a movie that you need to talk about afterward. Right. Like, see it with a friend and talk about it afterward.
All right. You ready to jump right into spoilers?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, people. Spoilers. Spoilers.
All right, so... where to begin? Seriously.
Okay, was it predictable for you?
Well, I'm a different kind of person when going into movies because, like we kind of figured with a few movies that we've seen, you're a little bit ahead of me because I don't know if this is just something that everyone does, where they just kind of they predict what's happening as the movie's going on, whereas I don't do that just because I'm so into the movie that I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to disappoint myself, so I don't even try to do those things. I just let the movie take me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily walk into every movie and try to figure it out. I think for me, I've just seen so many movies and a lot. I mean, I don't think that there's really a whole lot of movies and plot themes and twists and turns in movies that I haven't seen before. Yeah. So it's like, for me, it's very, things just start clicking. It's like, okay, yeah, I know where this is going because I've either seen it or I've been a part of something like that. So
that being said, was it predictable for you?
Yes, it was very predictable for me.
Oh, okay.
Which, for me, it was kind of like, okay, I mean, I get it. Like, the way the movie ended and actually going throughout the movie, I was just like, okay, yeah, she did this. Like, I knew that she cheated as soon as I saw, in like one of the very earliest scenes, she just got finished teaching this class and this guy's like talking to her, and the way he touched her was very familiar. And I was like, all right, there's something there. Yeah. And then when they just saw you saw that first brief scene of like the back of her and some sex scene. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, she cheated. Yeah. And there's that tension and then guilt and stuff like that. So I got it.
But as far as like the ending, like the actual stuff that was just kind of was supposed to be the big reveal at the end. Did you kind of predict that? Was that something that
as the movie was progressing and, you got to see how this shimmer, this whatever this is, this kind of force that hits the lighthouse and starts to change things, and it starts to change them from the inside out. And it's an adaptive, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a mutation. It's a remaking of things, a blend of all these different kinds of things. And, as I think probably about halfway through when we saw the video footage of the guy's platoon and they cut that dude open. Yeah. And his insides were just moving, which was just like
crazy.
That was a crazy scene. Yeah, that was just so disturbing. To watch that, and they were just like, "What?" Yeah. But as soon as that happened, and you see Isaac in that scene, I knew that it wasn't Isaac that came out. Okay. I was like, it's something else came out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because the Oscar Isaac, her husband that came out, was very, very strange, very different from what we had seen in the flashbacks and everything like that. And it's supposed to make you think, oh, there's something really wrong with him. And I definitely fell for that. And it wasn't until the actual video that she saw of him blowing himself up and talking to his other self that I was like, oh shit. Because, and they kind of differentiate with the hair a little bit.
They did the slick back versus just the messy mop.
Exactly.
But that was a surreal scene.
That was a really great, I loved that reveal and how they did that, because the whole lighthouse scene was absolutely just crazy. And I was, I mean, watching that whole thing, I mean, I was speechless throughout the whole thing. I mean, with from the moment she first sees what's her name, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Yeah.
Dr. Ventress.
Yeah, Ventress. When she first sees her and she kind of bursts into this ball of light, that was all very like, you know, what's even happening right now? But from then on, it was a mind trip, and it was really refreshing and really cool and surreal to see this being or whatever be
manifest
reflection
itself.
And I mean, it was absolutely, you know, just a pleasure and a joy to watch.
Did you like that scene? Did you
it was absolutely terrifying to me.
The copy of her. I mean, before it actually
had a face or anything.
Before it actually had a face.
Oh, it was. I mean, that is something. I think this movie really taps into the fear of the unknown, and I think for a lot of people that is one of the deepest fears. You know, things that you don't understand, things that you can't understand, kind of manifesting and dealing with stuff that you cannot stop and you cannot explain. Like, that stuff is just really scary, especially to me. Like, all those things that they saw going into it, like the fact that they had woken up after the first day and it was like 4 days later, and they can't explain why. Like, that's super scary. And just like the different animals and the plants kind of growing in a certain way that, you know, they're just so confused by. All of that was so interesting to me. But with that last scene and the kind of this being that was kind of just a reflection of her and just imitating her, like, that was just really scary. And I thought that I at one point I was like, how is she even gonna get out of this? Because is this thing just gonna basically do the same thing as it did with Oscar Isaac, kill her and then leave? And I guess I just want to kind of jump to the last part, which me and my brother were kind of disagreeing on. Was that her at the very end, or was that that copy of her that came out?
Oh, the copy of her came out.
Okay, and that originally that's not what I thought, but thinking about it and thinking about the way that they kind of played with that whole scene of her and the other being, and how they kept, like, I think she kept getting knocked out and then like would wake up. Like, you know, in one of those scenes it must have switched, because there's no other, I can't think of another. So
here's the thing, right? You have the and you know, this is you know, my take on it. You have the copy of her that came out of the Shimmer, obviously. Now, the copy of her that came out is telling the story and is narrating the story however it wants. Yeah. So it's telling you this story in a way that it seems that it's still her. Yeah. When in actuality it's not. Yeah. And you know, my initial understanding of the fact that it was her and well, that it was the copy and not her, is that if everything that you saw was true, you know, she finally makes it to the lighthouse. She sees this video of her husband, her real husband, destroy himself. Yeah. And then this copy, you know, walk into frame, and she's like, oh, what? You know, if you got out of that and then you find yourself back in human hands, I would assume that the first thing you're going to say is, where's my husband? Because he's not my husband. You know? And
That's true.
I don't think that they told a compelling enough love story to give her an alternate, if it was really her that came out, to give her an alternate motive that she missed him so much that she's willing to like accept a copy of him versus the real him. Because I think she went into that with guilt. Yeah. Guilt of the fact that he left knowing that she cheated and knowing that she had betrayed him. And she owed it to him to kind of, you know, find out what happened to him and kind of save him. But, you know, finding out the fact that he's gone, he's dead, and there's this whatever alien copy of him. Yeah. I would think that coming out of that, she would have been like, yeah, no, man, we need to like tie him, like, you know, cage him up because he's not even real.
And I think one other thing, you know, thinking back on it, because me and my brother, we saw it together and we were discussing this whole thing, and I didn't think it was a copy of her. I thought it was the real her. But thinking back on it, and one thing I brought up was, you know, how did Oscar Isaac's character and how did she get out of the Shimmer? Was it just that they came back the same way they came in, or they never explained that? Right. And the reason why they don't explain that is because it is the copy of them, and that's one way to do it. So in that regard, I was like, okay, at that point when I understood that, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it in relative terms, it's like, okay, it took a certain amount of time for them to go from the edge of the Shimmer to the center of the lighthouse. Yeah, and during that time, even though it really you didn't see anything manifest in Natalie Portman's character, but she did see it in her blood, that her blood was changing and she was, you know, shifting into something, whatever. Yeah. For her to actually get out from that lighthouse back out to the edge of the Shimmer, she would have been something completely different by the time she had made it out, or maybe not, you know. But I love the fact that they don't answer those questions for you. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I think people are going to ask questions on, and they don't give you, you know, enough tidbits to really chew on to give you those answers. It's something you have to kind of like figure out and kind of like journey for yourself.
Yeah, and that's what I like in a movie. It's something that doesn't hand you everything on a silver platter, but lets you, you know, just kind of make these assumptions and make these points by yourself based on things that they showed you. Because the world that the Shimmer was kind of in, I mean, fascinating and beautiful stuff, like and dangerous and, you know, scary at the same time. From that first kind of that body that they find, where it's all kind of sprouted against the wall, and it's like, you know, what, 20 feet tall against the wall, and it's just kind of
it's like a moss or fungus or something like that, and plant,
and it's like beautiful and scary and, you know, violent at the same time. Like it's great. I love the visuals that they kind of had in this movie, but I mean, I think this movie was just really the journey it took you on was really fascinating, I think. And I had a really good time. So.
Now, what did you think of the supporting characters?
First of all, the whole group of women that went in, we had Gina Rodriguez as like the medic who was hitting on everyone, which I liked her character.
She was fantastic. I loved her kind of journey through the whole movie. And then I want to talk about the demise of her in that scene, because that scene is spectacular.
That's a great scene. But getting into that, but other than that, like Tessa Thompson, I love Tessa Thompson. I just saw Creed again, or for the first time. She's amazing in Creed. I love her in Thor Ragnarok. I love her, and she was in Westworld for a little bit. She's just freaking great.
Now, I was disappointed with the end of her character.
Her character was good, but the end of her character was disappointing. It was like, wait, what just happened?
Like I get where they were going. I mean, because she saw what was happening, and she was kind of accepting and kind of like, you know, this is what's going on, and I'm fine with that, and I'm gonna embrace it. But I really would have. I mean, she just kind of walks off frame and disappears, and you don't really know. But as she's walking, you glimpse that this whatever, like, it's almost like she's being like taken over by a plant, or she's turning into a plant or whatever. And I was just like, I really want to see.
I wanted to see that
where it goes. Like, I want to see her just stop and like root herself and just become this beautiful, or even grotesque, or even a mix of beauty and grotesque tree or plant or whatever. So I was kind of like, bummer. Yeah. You know, I think that was like one of those little things that. It was like, you just I was give me one more cookie.
Minutes on.
Give me one more cookie.
Yeah, I get that. Let's see, Jennifer Jason Leigh. She was good. I mean, for what the character was, I mean, she delivered on that front, I believe. She didn't have a lot to her, though.
She didn't have a lot to her. She was just this real brooding, almost depressing, matter of fact. I mean, psychologist, but then all of a sudden, you know, she kind of takes it upon herself to go on this journey. And then, you know, you get this real quick explanation. Well, she has cancer, so of course she's going, you know, but none of them knew that going in. You know, none of them knew that, you know, they just thought maybe it was guilt because she had profiled everyone that went into the Shimmer and died. So, you know, she's responsible for all these people because she basically picked them. Yeah. But I mean, it was basically a journey of self-destruction, and I think of discovery for her.
And then we had Tuva Novotny as Shepard. Who was the first one to get killed. Yeah. And I liked her character. It was kind of a shame.
I
see her die first.
It was kind of like, she's cool. She's gonna die.
Yeah. And I liked everyone's death, but I think Gina Rodriguez's death and the whole scene was incredible. The way it was manufactured and the way it kind of played out, and it was really one of the most frightening scenes of the movie. Because you see where the group is at this point and how they've seen this video of Kane, Oscar Isaac's character, cutting open his other guy who had these, I don't know if it was his intestines or they said it wasn't his intestines, but like almost a snake.
Yeah, it was something in him that was moving around, and it was just. That was just disturbing to see. And to see that and to know that is a possibility for your group as well, like, it really put them in this kind of weird state. And, you know, based on Lena and not telling the others about Kane being her husband, and then Gina Rodriguez's character finding out and kind of tying all of them up and saying, you know, you lied to us. Why did you lie to us? And she's experiencing, you know, she's looking at her fingers and she's seeing that something is moving and something is wrong. Yeah. And she's not believing, because when she first sees that video, she's like, no, that's a trick of the light. Like, and she's a medic, you know? Yeah. And, I've seen a million things in my lifetime. That's just a trick of the light. It's like, that's called denial.
No, that was real.
Yeah, that was real. That dude's insides were moving.
But to see where her character was at leading up to that point, it made sense, that whole scene.
Oh, it did. And, you know, they're put in this position where they're all tied up, and she's just, you know, she's clearly freaking out. Yeah. You know, she's like, and I love how she kind of walks herself through every possibility. She's like, you know, two things either happened to them. Either something killed them or they killed each other because they went wacko. Now, we've already seen, you know,
Shepard
get killed by a bear. But then again, no one saw this thing. Only you say it. Yeah. So then the other thing is like, we're all just going crazy. And I'm looking at my fingers and my fingertips, my fingerprints are moving and I'm freaking out, and you're lying to us. And then the bear comes back, and it's this weird amalgamation of parts of bone and bear. And it has the voice of Shepard when she was dying. And that was just
so freaky.
That was wrong. That was just freakish wrong, you know. And the way that scene played out was just gruesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the way she actually died, he just ripped her. I think the same way, just ripped her vocal.
Yeah, just ripped her throat right out. Yeah,
like, oh my, like that's some brutal stuff right there. And then, you know. The same thing with a lot of these monster movies is, you know, are these monsters actually monsters, or are they just animals trying to survive? You know, and that's one of the most scary things is you don't know what are they just killing to kill, or are they killing for food? You know, and so they're just kind of sitting there trying to be quiet, and this thing is just walking around, and they don't know what's gonna set him off, really, and that's. And then at one point he just kind of lays his jaw like against Tessa Thompson's shoulder.
Yeah,
he just kind of rests it there.
He almost just it's almost like he bites her, but he kind of just like tastes her, or just kind of like
it was very
like almost grip.
Like what was the reason?
Gently grips her. That was just odd.
Yeah, it's very weird.
But I mean, the anticipation and the kind of edge of your seat level. If it was just a regular bear, right, and they're sitting there and it's just sniffing around and it's just kind of grunting and growling and you just don't know what it's going to do.
Effect, though.
Well, I mean, you would still have that thrill, but the fact that this weird bear thing
you don't know what
started screeching in this human shepherd kind of voice, that just raised it up and beyond any bar.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Fantastic scene. Fantastic
really,
scene.
Really great scene. And what I heard about this movie, because it's based on a book, and apparently, and this was a video that I saw before it came out, but people who had read the book were basically saying, hey, I've seen these trailers and I have no idea what this movie is about. Even though I read the book, this looks so different from what the book is. And then I saw a few videos about people who actually read the book and saw the movie and saying, you know, that they are very different projects, with really only the name and some kind of themes and characters to be the same. But Alex Garland really took it a whole other level and made it his own for this film.
I'm actually kind of curious to see what the actual book is about, because I don't know what premises you could take and then magnify.
Well, it doesn't. I don't think it ends the same way, and the Shimmer kind of gets explained because it's a trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, and I guess the Shimmer and all of that kind of technology, and the reasoning behind everything kind of gets explained in like the second or like the third book. And apparently, Alex Garland was writing the script before the third book even came out. So he wasn't really concerned with the
screenplay adaptation,
the continuity, or the just the same kind of relevance as the books. I think he was really kind of taking it in his own direction from the start, which I can appreciate. I mean, because I am curious to see what the book is really about, you know, seeing this. But if it's not the same kind of conclusion as this movie, you know, I think it is definitely kind of, it would be interesting to read,
right,
to say the least. So,
well, I'd like to find out what his explanation of the Shimmer was, because I liked the ending, but I really wanted to think of the Shimmer, or whatever it was that fell from space and hit the lighthouse, that it's not. I mean, obviously it's extraterrestrial in nature and in origin, but I don't want to think of it as, oh, it's an alien species, or it's like it's a way that that aliens like invade or anything like that. I wanted to really think about it and accept it as the fact that it's just something from another part of space or galaxy or universe that's an energy, or it's a virus, or it's a mutation. It's a reaction of different energies and how those energies affect our world.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I like the fact that within the Shimmer, you had all these different abstracts of, you had trees turning into like crystal and glass, but the ocean was fine and the beach was fine, but you had all this plant life that was kind of evolving and turning into something different. And even the animals, were kind of blending and being evolved into something different. And it wasn't, some of it was grotesque in nature because of just the nature of that, I think, blending of DNA, I guess. But in other, we saw some great examples of like the deer, like the antelope kind of deer things with the flowery antlers. Those are beautiful creatures.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't know if it was originally one creature that split into two, because the way that they were in sync and they were like mimicking each other.
It almost seemed like it was one and it just kind of duplicated itself.
Yeah.
And I actually liked, and that was another thing, is that in one of the early scenes, I think Ventress and Lena were talking and they mentioned duplicates. And then you see that deer kind of look like it kind of split into two, and then, see it kind of be, that kind of in duplicate,
that
kind
synchronization.
Of that synchronization. And you're like, oh, that's what they meant by duplicates.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wait, duplicates of people as well. And I think that was a really kind of cool kind of seed that they planted in the beginning.
Yeah, because, the ending scene, I liked it. I didn't. The only thing I kind of was just kind of a little bit sort of, I really would have loved to see a different interpretation of that is, when she's dealing with her duplicate, this shimmery, it was almost like crystalline obsidian glass rock type of creature. And I was like, it's taken a long time to take her shape or to kind of like blend. And then when it did it, it just did it so quickly.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, I really would have loved to seen something
I don't think it
less blatantly CGI. Like if it had started as like the basis of human, like if it had started as bone and you saw it just start to kind of like blend into muscle and tissue and veins.
But I don't think it builds that way because it's not made out of that stuff.
Right.
It doesn't need to
it doesn't mimic the organs and
it just needs to mimic the outside.
But obviously it for it to completely copy, it has to mimic those insides and outsides, because we had Oscar Isaac's duplicate in the outside and he's being looked over by medical professionals and they're not seeing anything different.
Yeah.
And he's and they don't really explain why he was like coughing up blood and then all of a sudden when the shimmer disappears he's perfectly fine. That was one of those, okay, wait, what?
Yeah.
But I loved their embrace at the end, and then both their eyes had that shimmer to it, and I was like, oh yeah.
I saw this kind of theory or this kind of point as to, was this all kind of chance, or was Lena were they kind of chosen to be the beginning of this kind of alien kind of takeover because of their relationship, and were they kind of handpicked to do this, and was this whole thing kind of manufactured by this kind of alien thing that they brought him in, knowing that their relationship, they brought him in and had him come to the center, be basically copied, have the original killed, have the duplicate come, and have him get sick in order for Lena to go in herself because of her guilt and stuff like that, and her curiosity to go in herself so she can get copied and then her copy to come out. And, because for both of them to be back in the real world, and have a child or whatever, and be in a relationship in the same house, that's not odd in any way to anyone else looking at it. And so, it was all of that,
it's like the perfect
intended.
cover. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think, that's going to bake a lot of people's noodles.
Yeah. I was like, that's a very interesting point. And it's almost it's almost really like just scary to think about. Like, I love aliens. I love like sci-fi. I love this kind of stuff. Like, I love this kind of other extraterrestrial intelligent life sort of, things that we don't really understand. So I thought it was a great addition to this kind of sci-fi genre that I love so much. So
yeah, it's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's it. What do you think?
I'm good. I'm good. I enjoyed it.
Your noodles baked?
There was a couple things I was just kind of like, opportunity missed.
But it didn't strain too much on.
No, it didn't.
Overall.
I mean, it didn't affect the overall. It's definitely it's a unique movie, and I think it's going to be very hard for some people to watch. It's going to be a treat for other people to watch.
And you know what? And I'm so jealous. I'm kind of jealous of some of these other countries, because I had heard or I'd read that all of the countries that didn't get a theatrical release of Annihilation, in about 2 weeks, it's going straight to Netflix.
It's going straight to Netflix, yep.
Which is insane, which is really cool. And I wish it was coming to my Netflix in 2 weeks, because I would watch it again, definitely. Yeah, I think that's it.
Anyways, watch it. Comment on it. Give us your feedback. Let us know if you liked it, hated it, enjoyed it.
Let us know what
how baked your noodles getting thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these conversations are always really interesting coming out of movies like this. But we definitely want to know your take on it. So email us at postproductionpod@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends. If you could rate us on iTunes, that would be great.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah,
support. And thank you guys so much for listening. And that's a wrap.
Thanks again, guys. Have fun.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.